Stop! While digging, mowing, and weeding as you prepare a green space for winter, or begin gardening and landscaping in the spring, take a moment to protect native plants. What's a native plant, you ask? In Indiana, a native plant is one that was here and flourishing long before Europeans immigrated to settle the land. Although some regionally native species that naturally spread into the state following European settlement may also be considered native. When people think of native plants, they tend to focus on wildflowers, such as butterfly weed, false sunflower, or wild bergamot or bee balm. But there's actually a range of plant types, including trees, shrubs, grasses, sedges, forbs, ferns, bryophytes, and fungi. Okay, so I know what they are now, but why are native plants so important? Native plants play a major role in the ecosystem. An ecosystem includes all of the living things, plants, animals, humans, etc., in a given area that interact with each other, along with their non-living environments like weather, earth, sun, soil, climate, atmosphere, etc. Each individual plant, animal, and human cannot exist by itself. All living organisms need millions of other living organisms to survive. Unfortunately, as more and more land is developed for business and residential communities, native plants are being uprooted at an alarming rate. Removing a native plant from the landscape likely means removing the insect that feeds on that plant, which in turn may eradicate the bird that feeds on the insect, and so on. This is just a simplified example, but we are seeing it happen with pollinators already. Pollinators, such as birds, bees, butterflies, and more than 100,000 other species, feed off native plants and then pollinate our crops so that we have food to eat. Honeybees are responsible for most of our food, but bee populations are dwindling at an alarming rate, as are monarch butterflies. Simply put, if native plants die off, so do pollinators, and, therefore, the majority of our food supply. Without pollinators, we wouldn't have coffee, chocolate, berries, and more. In fact, it's often been said that bees alone are responsible for 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat. The Kokomo-Howard County Public Library created Grow the Solution Together to encourage preserving established and planting additional native plants, not only because they're essential to the food supply chain, but also because they require less water than non-natives. Even in droughts and other harsh conditions, native plants have a long root system that allows them to survive and thrive, coming back year after year. Not having to water native plants is not only good for the environment, but it also means you'll save money on water bills. And because they are adapted to the climate, that means less pruning and weeding for you. And native plants are pretty. You'll be seeing more and more of them in Kokomo, especially with the development of the downtown's green infrastructure project that came about because of Grow the Solution Together. More and more natives are also popping up along Indiana's roadsides because of the increasing awareness of the importance of native plants for pollinators and as part of the Hoosier Roadside Heritage Program. The primary goal of the Roadside Heritage Program is to promote and incorporate native plants and wildflowers into Indiana's roadside landscape. This provides many benefits such as enhancing the beauty of the environment, reducing erosion, minimizing costs associated with mowing, lessening storm runoff, controlling invasive plant species, enhancing plant pollination, and improving soil quality. Even once educated about the importance of native plants, people often inadvertently destroy them because a native plant in its dormant phase often looks much like a weed. Young seedlings can also look like weeds too. So how can you tell the difference between a native plant and a weed? To start with, it's best to mark plants in full bloom or as soon as you plant them. There are a variety of nurseries around Indiana that sell native plants. Take care to purchase native plants from companies that do not use pesticides. You can purchase or make plant markers. They don't need to cost a lot, they just need to clearly identify where a native plant is and the name of the plant. This is especially important in public areas such as parks, schools, green spaces, etc., because a variety of staff members will be maintaining the landscape. If natives haven't been marked and you can't tell if a plant is a native plant or a weed, try using the University of Missouri's free weed app for iPhone and Android devices. Just go to the Apple app or the Google Play Store and type in ID Weeds. Then tap ID Weeds by Plant Features. Tap Grassy or Broadleaf, then tap as much information as you can provide, such as leaf arrangement and leaf shape, and at the bottom of the screen, tap Identify. ID Weeds will provide an alphabetical list of all the possible weed species. For help with native plant identification, you can also go to www.inpause.org. Click on In the Wild, and then click on Help with Plant Identification. Scroll down to find a variety of resources. The Kokomo-Howard County Public Library also has a number of books about native plants and pollinators. Just go to our website, khcpl.org, and browse the catalog. There are a number of groups to turn to as well. Locally, in Kokomo and Howard County, Indiana, you can contact the Howard County Master Gardeners. Many Master Gardeners have been growing native plants for years and can provide tips for identifying native plants versus weeds. INPAWS, the Indiana Native Plant and Wildflower Society, is another great resource. Its members have a lot of experience growing and identifying native plants. You can visit their website, or you can also find INPAWS on social media. You can post a photo and ask for help in identifying a plant or a weed. The number one rule when weeding your native plants, or in areas where native plants could be, is this: when in doubt, leave it. If it's a seedling, let it grow. If it's dormant, wait for it to spring to life. Then you'll be better able to identify the plant and decide if it's a native plant or a weed. Thank you for doing your part to increase the number of native plants and save the pollinators.